You're listening to the Progressive Patriots podcast.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while. It is currently 20:45 Arizona time. Yeah, been a while. People have been busy and all that, but wanted to make sure you all remember that we, the Progressive Patriots, are still here. It's just me, Leo. I'm riding solo. It's 20:45. It's Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 23rd. So with the pace that shit moves at, things may or may not be different by the time you hear this. I absolutely stole that from NPR. But let's get right into the fucking news, because there's a lot of it. As I was reading, trying to catch up, it's like, goodness fucking gracious. Let's get into, real quick, Congress. As I'm sure everybody knows by now, Joe Manchin has announced that he's not going to be seeking re-election when his seat is coming up in 2024. And he will instead be, quote, traveling the country and speaking out to see if there is an interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring America together, end quote. Okay, so I'm not sure what this dude's magic was to be able to get a Senate seat in a state like West Virginia as a Democrat. I don't know. But it's going to be a right pain in the fucking dick to try to keep it. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess, how that plays out. There's still some time to go. We still got about a year. So we'll see how we're going to work towards that. Some quick bits on the Republican debate. It was earlier in the month. What did I want to talk about on this one? Let me look at my notes here. Just some highlights. When they were talking about TikTok, Nikki Haley mentioned wanting to ban the platform, and Ramaswamy, being the fucking troll that he is, mentioned that Nikki Haley's daughter is very active on it. She said, what were her exact words?
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
And
You're just easy.
So that's kind of fun. When discussing the Palestine-Israel situation, Ramaswamy referred to...
Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case we've got 2 of them on stage tonight.
I believe that Haley responded saying that...
First, like to say they're 5-inch heels, and I don't wear them unless you can run in them. I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement. They're for ammunition.
And DeSantis, obviously, the great joke is that he wears heel lifts in his boots. I'm very inclined to agree that he does, because it really does look like it. He walks like weird, very weirdly, very strangely. I think in none of their statements, if I recall correctly, none of them mentioned Trump. Not really surprised. Can't, piss off his loyal supporters if you're trying to jockey for some of them. But I think it was not too far away where Trump did his own rally or whatever. He just kind of riffed at the mic for an extended period of time. He was quoted as saying, "I'm standing in front of tens of thousands of people right now, and it's on television. That's a hell of a lot harder to do than a debate." I'm not inclined to agree with this one bit. Debating, with your competition is a lot more taxing than just playing the hits for people who are going to cheer for whatever it is that you say. So that's going to be a hard no for me, dog. There was an interesting article that came out later that was fact-checking some of the things that the candidate said at the debate, on the debate stage. And one of them was DeSantis saying, "I sent planes over to Israel and I brought back over 700 people to safety." And that one actually checks out. The approximate number is just under 700, so not fudge the numbers a little bit, but I would say his fudging or like rough estimation is in the margin of error, so that's fine, I guess. So 685 people were flown from Israel between October 15th and 23rd. Here's one from Ramaswamy that was interesting.
Do you want to use U.S. taxpayer money to fund the banning of Christians? That is actually what's happening. They're using the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They have banned them. The Ukrainian parliament just did this last week, supported by our dollars.
So this one was found to be true in part, but it was missing a very strong degree of context. And I'm sure we know why. But here's the context that was missing from what Ramaswamy was saying, is the majority of Ukrainians are very much Orthodox Christians. They are members of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, the OCU. The ban, quote unquote, that ban was on the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, the UOC, which it sounds like you're splitting hairs there, but the UOC is suspected of being connected to the Russian Orthodox Church and, by extension, the Putin regime. Naturally, the UOC denies this, but who knows? I expect that Ukraine is playing it rather safe than sorry. I mean, you can still go to OCU services if you want to. You are still able to practice in your home or whatever. You still can. Christians are not being banned. It's fucking ridiculous. God damn it, that guy makes me so mad. All right, let's keep it going. Probably gonna wrap this up quickly just because, yeah, it's just me. So there's only so much that I can shit on these fucking clowns before it's time to move on. All right, so there was a law that was passed in Maryland in 2013, and it was like the Maryland firearm safety or something like that. The Fourth Federal Circuit Court of Appeals just moved to block this. Moved to block the application of this law in a 2-1 ruling. The majority opinion was given by Judge Julius Richardson, who is a Trump appointee, that Maryland has not shown that this regime is consistent with our nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. The language that he's using here is in direct reference to a Supreme Court ruling. It's the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. That was in 2022, so not too long ago. But the ruling requires that gun laws are consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Now, the fucking tradition of firearm regulation is none. So that's kind of what they're saying here. It's that, well, at least, okay, that's what it looks like to me. That's what I'm seeing when I hear the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. There historically has not been any. So, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of things that I would take the opinions of somebody from 250 years ago. I wouldn't take their opinions about a whole lot. Anything technology related or machinery related would be chief among them. So, yeah. Thomas Jefferson and shit. Of course they didn't care about firearm regulation because you didn't really need to. In the time that if you shoot and very likely miss, the time it would take you to reload, someone could go regulate your ass with a fucking club. So there you go. But I don't expect that they would have ever imagined the idea of a weapon that is made with the express intent of killing or grievously wounding as many people as possible as quickly as possible. I really do think that they would have a different opinion if they knew about that. But hey, they're dead, so who cares what they think anyway? Let's see. There's a little bit more on this one. The Office of Maryland Attorney General Andrew Brown, who is he's defending this law, the official statement is that they're weighing their options for next steps in the case. The dissenting opinion from Judge Barbara Milano Keenan, she's an Obama appointee. Her opinion was that the majority's ruling would render presumptively unconstitutional most non-discretionary laws in this country requiring a permit to purchase a handgun, which is that's exactly it. Not surprised, given who appointed these people. So there you go. That's what's happening in Maryland. That's fun. An interesting development in the Purdue Pharma case is it's going to the Supreme Court. The Purdue Pharma case they were the primary manufacturers of OxyContin, which was chief among the drugs causing the opioid crisis. So, right, that is going to the Supreme Court. Hearings will begin on the 4th of December, so it's coming up pretty quickly. So what's going to be checked or what's going to be heard in the Supreme Court is, so the family relinquished ownership of Purdue Pharma, the Sackler family, that's their name. They were ordered to contribute $6 billion to fight the opioid crisis. Makes sense. Fucking you spilled it, you clean it up. But in exchange for these, they were permitted to keep billions of dollars from the sale of OxyContin. So it wasn't like, is $6 billion really, is it all that much to people like this? And this is the part that's going to be argued the most. Or I believe this is what is going to be argued, that they are immune from civil lawsuits. The argument, the question that hangs over this is, does Purdue Pharma declaring bankruptcy extend to the Sacklers? Does that protection of filing bankruptcy protect the Sacklers who have not filed bankruptcy? But so are they protected from liability because their company filed bankruptcy? There's someone, her name is Ellen Isaacs. Her son Ryan, oh man, this is a Polish name, Wroblewski, W-R-O-B, Wroblewski maybe. I'm sorry, dude. He passed away from an overdose a while ago, and she is one of the people that's pushing to fight, to have this heard. Or her lawyer, his name is Mike Quinn, referred to this as the Sackler being exempt from civil liability is special protection just for billionaires. Very difficult to disagree with the guy. Excuse me. I did read of other people though, and some of them were keen on they just want to move on with their lives, and they would like for this to be resolved in some way as quickly as possible so that they can move on with their lives. And it keeps coming up in the news and shit, and it's obviously very difficult for them, and I understand it's not pleasant. What's frightening or concerning or worrying about this is the precedent that it sets for if a company does something, creates something that hurts a lot of people and they have to pay restitution of some kind, they can, declare bankruptcy and then just be completely immune from responsibility. That doesn't make sense to me. Even if they're not the chemists, okay, so there's that. But I mean, these people knew what was happening, very much knew what was happening, and that's kind of the fucking point of why they are in the hot seat at the moment. They knew what they were doing, and they kept going with it anyway. A weird one from yesterday. The Rainbow Bridge. I didn't know what this thing was, so I had to look into it a little bit. But it's the bridge that connects the U.S. and Canada at Niagara Falls. I'm not from the Northeast. Fucking sue me. So there was an explosion there, and I haven't been able to find if there was any determination of the cause, but it was a vehicle explosion, and the early assessments were a reckless driver. Not sure how reckless driving is going to make your car blow up, to be honest with you, but hey, I'm not a car expert, so what do you know? Oh... Another train derailment. That's great. Train derailment in eastern Kentucky. There's a small town nearby called Livingston, which is I believe it's 200 people. So I think if I remember correctly, the numbers for this, that 200 is it's in the category of village. It's not a town. That's too small to be a town. But whatever, that's not important at all to this. There was a train derailment, and I believe it was 2 or 3 cars that were filled with molten sulfur spilled. And burning sulfur creates sulfur dioxide. It's not good for you. Definitely, that's really all there is to it. It's very bad for you. So all of those people were evacuated. I believe that they were cleared to go home today. And interested to hear what's going to happen with this. Just another fucking trail derailment. Another, what, I don't know if this is, this isn't the same company that did the East Palestine in Ohio. It's not the same one, but curious to see how these what this is. Is this more like negligence and willfully letting things deteriorate because fuck spending the money to keep this shit working right? I need a third yacht, and I need it now. Still waiting to hear more about this. Let's continue to the Voting Rights Act ruling that was on November 20th. Oh boy. So, the ultimate outcome of this is that private citizens or private organizations cannot sue the government regarding voting rights or voting access. Only the U.S. government can do that. Only the Department of Justice. Only the U.S. Attorney General. Trying to not. Oof. So private parties cannot sue. The VRA, the Voting Rights Act, does not establish a private right of action. That was the majority opinion from Judges David Strauss, who's a Trump appointee, and Raymond Grunder, who's a Bush appointee, the second Bush. The chief judge of the appellate board, Levensky Smith, also a Bush appointee, his dissenting opinion was that he just would have followed existing precedent until Congress changed the law or SCOTUS changed the ruling. So, I don't know. Seems like a no fucking brainer. This was originally caused by another Trump appointee, federal judge Lee Rudofsky. So, there you go. The only exception to private action is racial discrimination. And like an example of how this was used for good was a coalition of private advocacy groups got together to have the Alabama voting map. It was highly gerrymandered. They started a coalition to challenge it, and they had their map redrawn in a way that's more equitable. It seems very likely that it's going to be appealed to the Supreme Court. I think the lead counsel for the plaintiffs, Sophia Lynn Laken. She's also in the part of the ACLU. No kidding. Called this a travesty for democracy, and is considering what the next steps will be. I know it's going to be interesting because there's other cases that we've talked about of voting maps being gerrymandered and being challenged in court by private coalitions. So it would be, and it's also curious, like, so if this is, with this sort of reversal on precedent, what happens to situations that were able to take place because they were argued with the previous precedent? So, like, does Alabama's map get reverted? Does South Carolina, Georgia, do these maps get, what happens to them? So a whole lot of people are fucked because of this. Awesome. All these fucking conservative judges. They are really it's really obvious what they're fucking conserving here. Oh, man. Let's see. There was a weirdness. I just labeled this as weirdness from India. Because it's fucking weird. So in September, you may or may not have heard of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. This was a Canadian citizen who was assassinated in September. And it was found, I think the terms were extremely credible or highly credible, that it was operatives from India, sanctioned by the Indian government. There was another one of those that happened either yesterday or the day before. This time it was a U.S. citizen that was targeted. I'm really going to fuck this name up. I'm really sorry, guy. Gurpatwant Singh Panun. The Modi administration labeled him, and these are the exact words, as individual terrorist. And that label was applied to him in 2020. I know that Trudeau, when the assassination in September happened, I know that Trudeau was very upset with Modi. And I know that Biden also kind of hinted at, like, don't you fucking think about it. Don't do that over here. That's a really bad idea for you. And, well, what do you know? Modi is fucking around. We will see as we enter the find out phase. What's unfortunate is that India is a very necessary ally, especially as it pertains to standing up to China. So it's kind of difficult, I would expect, for politicians to, who are trying to build alliances or strengthen alliances with someone whose modus operandi is counter to your values or the values that you're supposed to espouse. So we will keep an eye on that. I have not heard like anything good about Modi. I admit I have not looked into him as much as I should. But there you go. So I guess this is a good primer as I enter the codices of Modi. Let's see. 2 bits of positive news here. Just before we get into something a lot heavier. But one of the Central Park 5, it was a 5, I think they were like 14 and 15 years old. I think there were 6, but one of them pled out pretty early and escaped most punishment or anything. But the Central Park 5 were black and Hispanic boys that they were accused of raping a woman in Central Park and leaving her for dead. And part of the notoriety of this, or the good part of this, is that one of them, Yusuf Salam, he won an election and is now in the New York City Council. So I think that's really cool. Just to see the adversity that you can overcome. And I would say, like, the grace with which this man has carried himself throughout. He has every right to be extremely bitter. But, yeah, he decided to try to do better for everyone. And, yeah, that's really nice. It's worth noting, or reminding you, if you forgot, that former President Trump took out a full page in the New York Times to calling the justice system is fucking weak, and the Central Park 5 needed to be executed, and they were later exonerated. So it's not this shit happened in like the late 80s, so the writing has been on the wall for how this dude thinks. And yeah, it's extremely telling to me, as it should be for anyone, for that presumption of guilt to be there. And that presumption of guilt being so strong, you would advocate for them to be killed like right away before. Yeah, it's really obvious why. I mean, this shouldn't be a fucking secret. One last bit of positive stuff is the EPA All right, sorry about that. I had to pick a good song. The EPA has announced that they call it like a NOFO, notification of funding options or opportunities, I think it is. But They are called community change grants, right? It's $2 billion that are marked for use in vulnerable, like low income, vulnerable communities, predominantly communities of color, but it applies for anyone. Anyone can apply for these. You know, if like you're in a shitty place because you can't really afford to live anywhere else, these are for you. The funds, like the application process, is open now, and your application must be received November of 2024. The rationale behind that is not obvious, so that it can be approved by this administration and not rejected by the next. We're going to play it safe here and not assume that someone with a better moral compass is going to win versus a fucking lunatic. But look what happened in 2016. So let's not play that game again. Right. So I saved you the trouble of digging through the fucking EPA website and all the other government websites for this shit. If you go to lvx.at/EPA, that'll take you straight to the applying. Like, all you got to do is click apply now and you're right there. You know what I mean? So there you go. I really hope if you can put this to use. I would imagine that if this was like community organizing to do some kind of cleanup, maybe, or, I don't know. I didn't look too deeply into the requirements, but this is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. I always want to say infrastructure, and I don't know, I always fuck that up, but it's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. So $2 billion are marked for these grants. I know that they're trying to funnel green energy technology into low-income communities with this. So I don't know. Can this help you get solar panels where you live? I don't know. I'm not sure. Like I said, I didn't look into the requirements too much, but I know that that's like the umbrella idea, is to sort of a little bit of restitution for poor communities that have been left in vulnerable situations, precarious situations, just because they can't really afford to do anything else. Right, so yeah, that's the last positive bit. Something I kind of did this alone intentionally. I didn't want anyone else to have to like co-sign with my whatever my wild fucking opinions are. But so, quick little story from last weekend. On Friday and Saturday nights, there were two fundraiser events. The first one on Friday was for Rashida Tlaib, and the second one was for CAIR Arizona, CAIR, Council for American Islamic Relations. Given those two names that I just gave you, it should be a pretty clear idea, or should be a pretty clear picture of, what the fundraisers were about. The one for Rashida in particular, she mentioned pointedly at the end of her address that this is, I'm being censured for what everybody says behind closed doors. I just say it out loud. So it is kind of that trollish, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. But I would say in this case, we're talking about a just cause. Like, we're not talking about crime statistics, made up crime statistics to be more specific. I think she made a good point that I had been in the camp of the humanitarian pauses in the fucking siege of Gaza. But something that she woke me up to was, so you want a humanitarian pause. How long is it going to be? And then what happens after that number of days or whatever is over? What happens when that time runs out? Are we going to go back to bombing hospitals and temples and fucking refugee camps? Is that what we're going to do? I've hinted at it on other Lux Media shows that I even like this unconditional shit that we have for Israel is strange to me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the reason would be we don't like that does not exist in any other relationship, like international partnership. We do not give people unconditional support. It does not happen. Even like regimes that are friendly to us, we still don't give them unconditional support. This doesn't make any fucking sense. It's never made sense to me. It really hasn't. It's just one of those topics that if you ever brought it up, if you say anything that is not unconditional support for Israel, you're an anti-Semite. You're a racist. You're a fucking whatever other word they want to label you with, when that could not be further from the truth. I've shared a story on here that I'd like to share again, just to remind you. A few years ago, I was in Las Vegas. It was my birthday. I went with some friends to go see a fight. I love boxing. No shit. But so we went to a fight. It was great. As one does in Vegas on their birthday, we got a little rip shit. And we grab an Uber as we're going back to our places. And I was sitting in the front seat, and we were talking to the guy. He had a little bit of an accent. It wasn't really thick or anything, but still. So we're sitting there, and then somebody asked him like where he's from, because he had mentioned that he was a recent immigrant, and he said that he's from Israel. And one of my friends, being the fucking joker that he is, he said, "Oh, you're Israeli? Look, that Leo sitting there next to you, he's a Palestinian, and he does not support any two-state solution." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was not laughing at that point, but it was, oh my goodness, what have you just done? Oh man. And like you could hear a mouse fart in the vehicle. Like it was dead fucking quiet. And then he just kind of says, like, "I don't support a two-state solution either." And so we all kind of looked like, whoa, what are we about to do here? And this is not for the reasons that you think. I think that we both have, like, he means Arabs and Israelis, Jews and Muslims. We all have deep ancestral ties to this land. There is no reason that we cannot live together in harmony. We can worship wherever we want. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that we're good neighbors to each other. I don't see the problem. And that was why he left, because that was never going to be a reality. I think that was part of why he left, was like the violence because of that. That was really illuminating, really enlightening for me. Jesus, man, like this is a guy who was there. I've recently come across some news, like clips, video clips, and it's a group Oh God, why did I forget the name? I think it's like Circle of Parents or something like that. It's for Palestinians and Israelis, like parents who have lost children to in that the continued conflict there. And I think the heads, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, the heads of it are a Palestinian man and an Israeli man, both of whom have lost kids, their children. They had to bury their children because of this non-stop conflict. And those two, who you would think would have the most righteous, vindictive anger, met each other with compassion and empathy. It was really touching. And these aren't the people that you hear about. All you hear about are the zealots from either one. Like I see people pretending like, oh, the internet is like pro Hamas. It's like a Hamas fucking recruitment center. I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, it isn't. No, the fuck it is not. The conflation of the terms anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, that is a considerable part of the problem. You don't have to be like the dude that's the Israeli guy who said, like, we can live together and we can at least be neighbors and just live together in whatever. We don't have to fucking like have barbecues together. That's not necessary, but we can still live together without any problems. Like, we don't have to drive the Palestinians out. The Palestinians don't have to continue trying to kill us all so that they could reclaim it. That's not that like mentality, that harmonious one-state solution is anti-Zionist. He just does not want to fucking destroy everyone that stands in his way of reclaiming the ancestral homeland. That's exactly where I've landed. I've always kind of felt that way. I never understood why two-state solution was ever a thing. And to be honest with you, I've been holding back on talking about this because I wanted to try to learn as much about this issue as I could. Because, everyone always says, oh, it's really, really touchy. It's a really sensitive topic. And yeah, it is. But the more that we fucking tiptoe around the shit, the more that nothing is going to fucking happen. So that has always been like my personal view on it. Those like that Israeli man that drove me in Vegas that one night fucking changed my entire viewpoint on the situation. It's like, wow, I would have thought that we would just instantly become enemies for no fucking reason. But other than what he believed my ethnicity to be and for his ethnicity as well. But that's definitely not the case. I don't know if I cannot reasonably in good consciousness support any kind of Zionist agenda. I can't. Anybody who thinks that what happened on October 7th, what Hamas did to those people, if you think that's acceptable, please remove yourself from the fucking gene pool. Please remove your fucking brain from your head by whatever means you deem necessary or you deem suitable. You have that has no place in modern society. That has no place here. Terrorism is unacceptable. Nobody's fucking denying that. But at the same time, bombing the ever-loving fuck out of the tiniest little strip of land, and all of these people that die are just, collateral damage? LOL, just write it off, like, who cares? As long as we'll kill 10,000 people, as long as we get one bad guy. That is I don't know. It's that mentality as well is sickening just as much. Both of these things can be true. You do not support terrorists if you disagree with what the IDF is doing. That does not make you an anti-Semite. Does not make you a pro-Hamas or pro-terrorism. Absolutely does not. Both of these things can be true at the same time. This is not a binary situation. Anybody who's trying to claim that it is, I would say that they're bad actors. They're acting in bad faith. They're trying to perpetuate that same false dichotomy that you are either or the other, when that's absolutely not true. I don't know. I've been saying this partially in jest, but not entirely. Mostly in sincerity. Is when in the fuck did it become controversial for me to say I don't want kids to die? Please note, I did not say Palestinian. I did not say Israeli, because there's no fucking difference here. I don't want kids to die. I don't want innocent people dying. That's it. That not wanting Palestinians mercilessly bombed into non-existence, not wanting that does not mean that you want instead for Israeli people to be bombed into non-existence. That's fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This idea of ground invasion or whatever, it's... Man... I've worked in counterinsurgency. I was on the ground in Afghanistan doing counterinsurgency. Yeah, no. No. Do not do that. It's gonna be a very bad idea for everyone. For every one innocent Palestinian that you kill mistakenly, even if it was in genuine error, absolutely a mistake, not intentional in any way, you're creating exponentially more terrorists because of it. You are not solving the problem with violence. Violence is not going to solve this. I cannot remember where I heard it, but it was a guy who used to be he was a high up in the Viet Cong, the guerrilla forces, not the NVA, the army. I don't know, I think it was him speaking to some, it was a terrorist group that he was talking to, and he said, I believe the group was Hamas. I'm pretty sure that, and the guy said, look, terrorism does work sometimes. It can be a very effective tool. But what you need to remember is, the Americans in Vietnam or in Afghanistan, I'll just use my own experience, but for Americans in Afghanistan, you don't have to do a whole lot. They're going to leave. So just kind of chill. They're gonna leave. And he said the same thing about Americans in Vietnam, the French in Vietnam, that colonizers leave. However, these people they're not going anywhere. They don't have anywhere else to go. You cannot terrorist your way out of this. It's not going to work. And you can't wait them out either, because they're not going anywhere. You have to, at some point, you're going to have to come to the table and be willing to talk. And if you're not, I guess we're going to be doomed to repeat the fucking cycle every couple of months, years. Those two men that I told you about, the Israeli and Palestinian fathers, they one of their I don't know, mantras or mottos or statements or whatever is, we will either share the Holy Land together or we're going to share the graveyard underneath. And truer words never spoken, man. It's I don't know where we're gonna wake up from this illusion of necessity of violence, because there isn't one. Well, that was fucking cheerful. Let me get us wrapped up here. So I mentioned other shows, like Lux Media as a whole. There's other shows on it. There's Ultimate Fucking Casual if you like MMA. Hardshell Tacos is a slice of life show that I do with a cousin of mine. We actually recorded yesterday. I need to get that published soon. Obviously, Progressive Patriots, here you are. There's an international edition. Haven't been able to get to that one as frequently, but it's on the same feed, so as long as you're subscribed here, you'll be fine. B-Sides Boxing always has been my first love. That's why I started doing this, but I care about other stuff too, so here we are. There's another one that's kind of fun. It's called Ookie Spooky Stuff. If you're into New Age mysticism, like tarot, oracle, crystals, astrology, all that ookie spooky shit. If you're into that kind of stuff, man, that is a show for you. It's a daily thing. Monday through Friday, there's a release, so there's that. Sometimes on the weekends, sometimes not. Doing the internet stuff, it helps. The biggest thing that would help is rating and reviewing the show wherever it is that you're listening to it. That would be the biggest help. It also helps to interact with social media posts. It makes the social media posts more visible. That would be helpful as well. Speaking of, the social media handles is LVX Media Net on everything. If you can't find me, I'm not on it. What else do I got? All right, so these two groups. I volunteer with them. I think they're great. I love these two groups. I've made good friends in them, and a lot of the people that you've heard on Progressive Patriots come from them. So there you go. They do not endorse me. I'm not the official podcast of anybody. This is Lux Media, and that's it. So, but I think they're neat. The Marge Simpson meme there. So Common Defense, the social media handles is a Common Defense, one word, on Twitter, and Common_Defense on Instagram. This one is Arizona local. It's Vets Forward. Vets_forward on Twitter. Vets FWD on... Hold on. I'm fucking that up. Let me reset there. Vets_FWD on Twitter. Vets FWD on Instagram. Right. You will recall I mentioned those EPA grants, which, if you can do something with that, fuck yeah, dude, do it. The short link for that is lvx.at/EPA. All right. For Common Defense, They are nationwide, so if you want to volunteer with Common Defense like I do, I made a short link for this as well. It's lvx.at/cdef. lvx.at/cdef. All right, Common Defense, you get it. And also, if you're in Arizona, Vets Forward could always use some help as well. lvx.at/VFWD. God damn it, what's wrong with me? lvx.at/VForwardFWD, right? VFWD. So that's both of those. Well, there's nobody here for parting words, so it's just me. My parting words is I'm going to start doing this as much as I can in anywhere I have the opportunity to do so. Being a millennial, I grew up with these three fine fellows. I refer to them as the Millennial Trinity. It's Steve Irwin, Fred Rogers, and Bob Ross. Steve Irwin always taught us to be kind to nature and animals. Fred Rogers reminds you to be kind to your neighbors, be kind to other people. Doesn't matter what they look like or what they, I don't know, may identify differently than what you expect. Who fucking cares? They're still a person. That's all that matters. Treat them like one. And lastly, I feel most importantly is be kind to yourself. That's old Bob Ross there telling you you're not making mistakes, you're making happy accidents. It's all good. I feel that's most important. It's easy for a lot of people, especially doers, like veterans such as myself. For doers, it's easy to forget yourself in service of others. It's really easy. I did that for a long time, and I actually tried to mask my own inner turmoils, my own personal problems with helping other people. So yeah, that's why I feel it's most important to take time and be kind to yourself. That's going to do it for this Thanksgiving edition of Progressive Patriots. I'm thankful for you. So go, I don't know, eat more food. Eat leftovers. Call your grandma. She misses you. All right. I'll talk to you next time.